Tell me something about yourself.
Well, my name's Kingsley Fowley. People think King Fowley is a stage name, but it's really my real name is Kingsley, which, like a David would become Dave, or, Christopher is Chris, so that's me. I'm 52 and a half years old. Currently live in Pennsylvania. Most of my life I grew up in Virginia, Arlington, Virginia, and I'm a metal freak, and into that, and all my horror movies, and, I love my football. That's pretty much me, man.
Awesome. So let me ask you this: like, what got you into actually being into metal?
It's a good long story, and I'll try to make it interesting, not too long for you. My father passed away at 27 of cancer, so it was basically my mother took care of me ever since she was on her own when I was 5 years old. So she used to have her sister, Marlene, watch me while she worked three jobs so she could keep me and my sister because the state said she didn't make enough money and they tried to take my sister away from her. So she was working all the time. And my Aunt Marlene was a terrible teen. She was probably like, at the time, she was probably like 17. And she was watching us, and, she was probably doing bad things too, probably drugs and things like that. But my mom, needed somebody to take care of us. So I would go to her apartment, and I would go through her record collection and stuff. And she had all the music of the time. This was the early 70s. So it was like, the Beatles had just broken up. She was a big Beatles fan. So I fell in love with the Beatles. And I just went through all her records. It could have been any and everything. It could have been Steve Miller Band, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, whatever. It just got me into music. And the Beatles were my first love. So I had a thing for music. And as I got a little bit older, basically my mother used to take me on Sundays to the grocery store where she would see her mother. And they would do women talk and walk around the grocery store talking about what happened in the last week before they saw each other last. And I'd be in there for 2 hours, trying to find something to do. So I usually ended up in the magazine section of the store looking at movies or whatever and sports books or magazines. And one time I was in there and I saw this picture of this guy with blood all over him. I'm like, wow, this is cool as shit. Well, of course, it was Kiss, Gene Simmons. And it got me into Kiss. And I had never heard Kiss. I had no idea what they sounded like. But I was 9 years old, during my after-school rec, my mom left me at school till 5 because she had to work till 5. There was a guy there named Jeff Pierce, and he was a counselor kind of guy. He's probably like my aunt, like he was in his late terrible teens, just got out of school. He was watching the kids and stuff. And remember one day he told me, man, you want to hear this band Kiss? And I was like, yeah, man, I really want to hear Kiss. So he gave me a note, and he told me to walk off the school property, go up the hill and around. And he had a buddy named Victor Myers who had a Kiss record for me. So I took this note there, and it basically said, give this kid a Kiss record. I want to jam. So I took it back, and it was Kiss Destroyer, and we heard Detroit Rock City, and I fell in love with this music. It was just so aggressive for a 9-year-old. It was just so intense. And they were my, after the Beatles, they were my next love. And then from there, I heard everything on the radio, from Andy Gibb to ABBA to, whatever was out at the time. And none of it had that intense vibe. I didn't know the difference between anything. I didn't know there was different genres of music. Maybe it was the Carpenters then, or maybe it was disco. But I just like songs. And I said, I like this style. What Kiss does, it just seems like it's just more intense. So people started turning me on to Van Halen and Ted Nugent and Heart and Aerosmith, those bands of the later 70s. And I loved all that stuff, which got me to like Rush, which got me to like AC/DC and Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. And I just started, liking, quote unquote, the heavier stuff. And it just kept going from there, From there, it just turned into buying Exciter records and Saxon records and Motorhead records. And then it was Merciful Fate and Slayer and Voivod, et cetera, et cetera. And you just kind of like, whoa, this is intense. And I just started, this turned into my record collection was 99% of the stuff I had in my collection was this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, of course. One other thing was like, well, do you still remember like your first metal show that you went to?
My first concert was Kiss '79 with New England opening. It was the day after my birthday, and I loved that. So I call that my first rock concert. My first metal concert, I would say, well, Aerosmith was my second concert. I think both of the Kiss and them are rock, but I would say Black Sabbath is metal. So for me, this is what I always tell people. It was December 3rd, 1981. When I saw Black Sabbath on the Marlboro store with Dio singing, Square. I watched them do the sign of the Southern Cross and Heaven and Hell, and they were like, "Come into hell and burn with all of us," and the horns and all that kind of shit. And I just said, "This is what I want to do with the rest of my life." And that's kind of I always say yesterday, I sold my soul for rock and roll, whatever. I guess I sold my soul for metal. So that was it. As far as an underground metal show, one of my very first shows was I saw Kingsley in a bar with Twisted Sister when Queensrÿche had just come out, and they were just full on metal then. Twisted Sister was pretty fucking heavy for the time too. Those were some of the early days. I mean, I saw all the concerts of being an older guy now. I saw Merciful Fate when they came to America, and Voivod's first show in America, and all that kind of stuff. So, but I would say Black Sabbath, December 3rd, 1981, Mob Rule Store was my first quote-unquote metal show.
Oh, nice. One other question I wanted to ask was when did the whole idea for the band Deceased come around?
Well, when I was in elementary school, there was a good friend of mine named Bill Ford. We were the guys that loved Kiss. Nobody else wanted to talk about music at the cafeteria table the whole time except me and him. So they were always like, "Look, King and Bill are just talking music." Everybody was thought we were crazy. And we would, we did the talent show at the end of the year. We lip sync Kiss and all this crap. So we figured we were going to eventually start a band together. Well, he ended up moving to a demo called Fuck Off. That was the name of the demo. And it had a song called Turn It Loud and a song called Grinding Heads. And this was our version of heavy metal of, 14, 15-year-old kids. And it was kind of in the vein of Twisted Sister with a lot of Metal Finger kind of lyrics to the world kind of stuff. And I was like, this is cool. Well, Jamie didn't want to do it anymore. And Marcel kind of got caught up in a girlfriend thing, so he strayed. So I'm back to square one. I'm like, well, maybe I should take up bass again. Because I was only singing at the time. And when we recorded that demo, we didn't even go into a studio. We just went into our basement. I literally sang into a bucket. That's where my vocals were recorded. Stupid now. So I said, well, I'm going to start my own band. So I had these names. It was Mace. It was Evil Axe, just the stupidest names, but when you're a kid, they sound good to you. Evil Axe, that sounds terrible, I'm telling you now. But Marcel came back around, and he was like, let's do this, man. So we started doing this, and it was just me and him. Then I met a guy named Doug Fowler, who was friends with my girlfriend at high school. They were all ninth graders, and he wanted to get a band, but he never played guitar. Well, he went and bought a guitar, and he took lessons, and he got good quick. So the next thing I know, the bands of the time I was into, it was 83 now, 84, around there. It was Overkill, Jagpanzer, Venom, Slayer, Voivod, Merciful Fate. This was the bands we were into. So we started learning these songs. We did Feel the Fire from Overkill, and we did Jagpanzer, and we learned the Venom song, but we weren't that good. And I was still horrific on bass, just terrible. And I was like, we need to get another guitar player, and we need to get a bass player, and I need to just be the singer. And then Marcel started out again for a second time with his girlfriend. So we were at practice going, this sucks. We don't even have a drum beat to play to. So I said, I'm going to play drums. But where am I going to get a drum set? And the weirdest thing happened. I went into my brother's room. My brother's younger than me. He was only probably 13 then. And in his closet of his room, there was this a half-assed makeshift drum set. I'm like, I don't know where this came from because I would have seen it somewhere, at some point. But I pulled it out of there, put it together, and by then we got a second guitar player. We still didn't have a bass player, but me, Doug, and a guy named Mark Adams, who we hooked up with, started jamming. We just started jamming, and at the time we were called Mad Butcher with 2 D's and just dumb names. And then one day I said, let's call this band Deceased. That's a killer name, and everybody loved it, so we became Deceased. And then we started learning all these covers of Bathory, Hyrax, and DRI, and Slayer, and, that kind of stuff. And then we started writing our own material. And when we got to our own material, I was like, we're going to make this the fastest, sickest, heaviest, ugliest shit that's ever come out. And this was around literally late 84, early 85. We were doing this stuff. So that's kind of how it all got to there, in steps. And that's where it all originated from.
Oh, nice. That's a really awesome story. One other thing I wanted to ask also is during that time, do you remember what the first Deceased demo was, when you guys first became Deceased?
Oh, absolutely. The first demo, to this day, I don't know why I called it this, but it's called The Evil Side of Religion. We were directionless, other than, like I said, being the heaviest, ugliest, sickest band ever, fastest band ever. But we Around the earliest parts of 1986, we had written a bunch of songs. We still had no bass player. And a friend of ours that, one of our party friends and stuff at the time named Rob Sturzel, he was a German guy. He basically was at a party playing some Creator Endless Pain on acoustic guitar. And we were like, damn, dude, Creator on guitar? Damn, do you play any bass? He's like, no, he goes, but I can learn if you want me to play bass for you. And he was the biggest supporter of our band at the time. He would come to our practices and just sit there and headbang. And we're like, dude, that'd be great. You want to play bass for the seats? Let's do this. So he learned the songs we had. And I think we wrote one or two more once he joined the band. And we ended up doing 9-song demo in September of 1986. We recorded it at a friend's house where we were practicing at the time. We did it in his attic on a 7.5-track Fostex, the portable little studio thing in his attic. It would have been 8 tracks, but one of them sort of worked, didn't work one of the tracks. And we gave the guy $20 and a case of beer, and he recorded us. And I basically, when we finished the music, which is what he recorded for us, I went home that night and I had my own little stereo mixer. I sang, screamed, whatever you want to call it, the vocals, which at the time were called Throw Up. My name in the band was Kingsley on Throw Up Box. I was the Throw Up Box. That was my vocals were done that night on headphones. They were added later. And then the next day, I grabbed a picture of something from my living dead, put it to the cover on paper, went to Kinko's or something similar, like a copying place, and made these tapes up. And that was our demo.
Nice. Do you actually do you know exactly like when like the first show that you guys played as Deceased like officially?
The first show I ever played was a girl named Wendy Ganser, Gantzer. Wendy Ganser had a party for a dear friend of ours named Larry, and she said, "You want to play?" Yeah, we were like, but we were still a 3-piece. Rob hadn't joined yet. So we played the first show there. It was all covers except for maybe 3 originals of our earliest tunes, like After the Bloodshed, Eaten by Disease, and probably Gut Wrench were played. But we had no vocals. I hadn't mastered the drumming and singing yet because we had no singer either. I guess I forgot to mention that. So I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna be the singer too. But when we went to play live, it was hard for me because I was still a new drummer. So yeah, we played as an instrumental set. It was in 1986. I don't know the exact day, but I could probably get it for you. And it was a great time. We literally took smoke bombs that I had gotten from the Ray Caverns up in Virginia, and we were throwing them out in the audience while we were playing. And Mark's little brother, made some kind of like almost like these little, I don't know, just some kind of makeshift fireworks, and he was letting them off. We did like No Class from Motorhead, and War from Bathory, and Sepulchral Voice from Sodom, and Bombs of Death from Hyrax, and I think we did Fight Till Death and Chemical Warfare from Slayer. It was stuff like that, and nobody knew what this was in the area. Like, this music was just, they were like, what the fuck is this? Because nobody knew those bands at the time. Now, it's cult classics, but then it was still new to everybody.
Oh, nice. Let me ask you this actually. Also like I know that in the 1990s I saw that you guys played a Day of Death festival in Buffalo, New York. How was that?
Cool as hell, man. That was really cool. That's the way our festival should always be. We've done so many since, and we did one before that. No rock star problems, no bullshit, no egos with other bands. We rode up there. We knew the guy, Ed Farsley from Book of Armageddon out of New York. He put it on with another guy named Brian Pattison, who was cool as shit. And it was called Chainsaw Abortion Magazine, I think is what his was called. And we went up there, and we knew all these bands. I was best friends with Chris Reifert and Autopsy, Pen Pals, and they were out there. And bands that weren't even listed on the flyers to this day, he's actually played, like, Philharmonic Orchestra played, and Repulsion played, and just, it was unreal. And it was the gathering of the scene. It was one of the very first festivals of all time. And I still say, in my world, that's still the greatest death metal festival ever to happen in the United States was that day. That was special because before like trends hit or just just all the stuff that happens now, hipsters and all that kind of crap. It was just the real deal. Everybody was there for the music.
Oh, awesome. Like do you still remember like the experience that you had there? Like how was like the show like being there actually? What was the whole like experience like?
Well, we played, I guess it was about 12 bands total that day, maybe 12 to 15 bands, and we played like fourth on the bill. And so we were done pretty early. I think we played at like 3 o'clock or something. And it started, maybe a little later, maybe 5 o'clock. But I think it started like at 1 or something like that. And there was a couple local bands, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, what I'm getting at is, after I played, I went outside and I was drinking with a girl. And we actually got thrown out of the goddamn event. The guy was like, yeah, you're out of control, dude. You're drunk and you're not even, I think I was just over drinking age. I think I was like 22 then. And he's like, you're trash, man. You're kicked out, dude. You're out of control. So me and her went on the roof of the place, and we were listening to bands for a little while. And then I started thinking to myself, as I sobered up, I need to get in this fucking thing again. So I went down there and pleaded my case with the guy. I said, look, I know I was drunk. I'm mellowed out now, dude. All these friends are my, all these bands are my friends. They're from here, from all over the world, the country, and he let me back in. And then it just became like, hey, King got back in, yay. And I just be hanging out with people. And that's when I kind of, I was meeting all these people for the first or second time outside of Pen Pals. And they were like, this guy's crazy. King Fowley's out of control. He's a nut. And kind of like established my personality, so to speak, with the underground band. But I remember, like, I was, helping out. Autopsy was the headline. I remember helping them out. And his drums were falling apart and shit. And I was using duct tape and helping him. And it was just beautiful, man. It was just, like I said, it was the passion was so genuine. It was just so fucking cool.
That's actually really awesome because I remember seeing so many flyers and stuff and like video footage of that festival. So I always wanted to know like what it was like back actually when that happened. Because I hear it was like the biggest death metal festival ever.
It was insane. If there was any low light moments to the show, it was Jeff from Carcass was kind of acting like a rock star. He wasn't even playing, but he was there, and he was acting a little bit like he was a little better than everybody else that day. I used to tell him, man, chill out, man. Stop acting like like you're the Rolling Stones, dude. But it was all in good fun.
Oh yeah, of course. What would you say was like your favorite band that was actually playing there?
That day it was Autopsy. Autopsy was what I was really wanting to see. I was like, I gotta see Autopsy. Love me some Repulsion, though. Repulsion and Autopsy, out of all the bands I played, are probably two of my favorites. Definitely my two favorites on that day.
Oh, sweet. Do you remember actually like seeing like Cannibal Corpse being there?
I do remember Cannibal Corpse. Cannibal Corpse let everybody use the gear. That was really cool. A lot of the gear came from Cannibal Corpse. Yeah, they were good. Good friends. I mean, I used to know Jack Owens mainly, him and Alex the most. They were good. I mean, they've been around a long time. A little bit. I'm not the world's biggest death metal guy, with that kind of grr kind of stuff. I love my Repulsion, I love my Autopsy, and a few others, but never was my thing. But I love those guys for sticking to what they do all these years later. Still, they've made some headway and made some money, and got to see the world like that. So that's always a plus too. But yeah, really, they did their thing, man. They were loved because they were sitting there in Buffalo as locals,
Oh yeah, absolutely, of course. Also, like, I want to ask you this actually, since this was like really back then. Like, how was your experience first seeing like actually Mortician live?
It was wild. Will with his damn crazy voice. Will's a good friend. We've done a lot of crazy shit together over the years. We're two of the outrageous nuts of the scene back in the day. It was insane. It was what I expected to see and hear from a band called Mortician. They lay the hammer down every time. They just do their thing.
Oh yeah, of course. I've seen Mortician live, but I wonder what it was like back then, like in the early '90s, before what it was now.
Will was young. I mean, he was a little less intense then because I think he was still mastering his craft too.
Oh yeah, of course. Also, like I also know for a fact that that Suffocation was there. Like, was that also during the Legion of Inveracity?
Suffocation was a band that I got into early on. We actually gave them some of their first out-of-state shows. We brought them down to D.C. once or twice with Deceased in the late 80s when they were just, they sent me a demo out of the blue, and I got it. They were cool guys, and we hung out with them and all that stuff. And, they went on to do their thing as far as those shows and stuff. Yeah, I mean, when they would play their gigs, I mean, they built up a following quick. They went a lot heavier and a lot faster, quicker. I still prefer the earlier stuff because it's not as insane. I actually think they're better when they went like more blurry, blast beats and all that kind of stuff. I actually prefer like the Human Waste era stuff best. But I mean, they definitely made headway. They came like almost like Cannibal Corpse, just a little less than them. All through the '90s and early 2000s. I mean, that was big for them.
Oh yeah, of course. Now I want to get to this part actually. My favorite album of you guys actually is Luck of the Corpse. How did that go? How did the sessions go for creating that album and the whole thing behind it?
Well, we had a lot of. First, I'll explain the title. We had a horrible streak of luck for a while. I almost died from doing drugs. I was a heavy drug addict in '85, '86, '84, and in '87 I just about killed myself. So I had to take almost all of '87 off. By the time I came back, which was almost a year later, I literally laid in the bed and fucking shrunk down to almost 100 pounds from not eating and just being in withdrawals and just fucked up is the words I want to use. Well, I made it back, and when I made it back, my mother was so proud of me. She bought me a killer drum set, and we got together because they were all waiting to jam. Like, God, King, when are you gonna get better, dude? It's been 9 months. We haven't done shit. We want to, we're in the prime, and we were just making headway with, playing shows and blah blah blah. And I came back, and it was just me and Doug and Mark that day because Rob had to go to college. He had an afternoon college class that day. And we jammed, and I was like, man, I'm better than I was before I quit, and now here's it now because I have sober fucking head. And the guys were like, wow. So we called up Rob, and we were like, dude, man, we sound like killer, dude. He's like, yeah, tomorrow we're going to fucking thrash. We're going to fucking thrash our brains out. And we were like, yeah, that's cool. He goes, well, y'all want to get together tonight and hang out, man? He goes, I know you don't party no more, King, but you can hang out. We'll drink a couple beers, and you can just shoot the shit. And I was like, I'm pretty wore out, brother. I've had a long fucking day, and I'm not full on physical back yet, so maybe over the weekend. He was like, that's cool, man. Well, then Mark and Doug wanted to go and hang out. But Mark had to go to a dinner with somebody. So Doug went out there with his brother and Rob and another guy named Sean. Were heading out to Rob's house that night. Well, they pulled over. They got a flat tire. They pulled over, and somebody came over the hill and killed everybody but Doug and the guy Sean. Killed Rob, killed Larry, killed Doug's brother Steve. Threw him 100 feet. This was literally the day, like I said, we had just come back from my drug issues. We were back. Doug witnessed all this. I mean, heads turned around. Just imagine how fucked up it is. I mean, and the guy sped off that did this. The next day, he turned himself in because it was all over the news. But Mark went up there and comforted him. So I was on the phone with somebody at 1 o'clock in the morning while this was going on, and my sister had her phone, and Mark called me going, dude, all of our friends are dead, man. I was like, what? And I went into shock. And so we didn't know if we were going to carry on, but we knew Rob would want us to carry on. So we did. And we were just like, God damn, every time we get started, it's fucked up. And somewhere, I think it was Doug, he said, it's the luck of the corpse, man. It's just the luck of the corpse. So we were like, when we do an album, we're going to call it Luck of the Corpse. So we brought in Les Snyder as a bass player, a guy we didn't really know, but he was at the first show back. He played as a three-piece. He was a little Oriental guy with long hair, looked like he was a Death Angel, jumping off of amps and stuff. And we were like, and everybody's like, that guy plays bass. You should get him to play bass for you. So we did, and he was super cool. He's a brother for life now. And we went and recorded the Birth by Radiation demo in '88, and then we did the Nuclear Exorcist demo in 1989, both in the studios and the Inner Ear studios, famous for bands like Bad Brains and Minor Threat, using them, mostly punk stuff. But anyway, so we started getting letters in the mail, pen pal stuff, and the guy said, hey man, I'm starting a label, it's called Relapse Records. He was out of Colorado, Matt Jacobson. And I said, man, really? He's like, yeah, I want you guys to do my first signing, dude. I love you guys. And he sent me stickers and always was praising my music. And he was a nice guy. And we were like, okay. So he said, the only problem is I don't have any money yet. And you're going to have to kind of make this work on your own. Okay. Well, we were getting ready to do a fourth demo in 1990. We're like, well, let's just decide how we're going to do this. And what was weird was the second and third demos we had done were concept demos. I had this storyline, and I didn't know if I wanted to continue the storyline into the album and record some of that, but I was like, well, you can't record all this, so the storyline's going to fall apart because they're going to get obviously like a play. It would be like Act 1, but then Act 6, because we didn't use 2, 3, 4, 5. And I said, you know what, let's just use some of the songs from there, and we'll use a couple of these new ones, stuff like Feasting on Skulls and Experimenting with Failure, Psychedelic Warriors. Those were the new songs that we were just getting ready to put on a fourth demo. And Mark was doing a college intern at a place called Oz Studios up in Baltimore, Maryland, which is about an hour from Arlington, Virginia. So he got us these cheap rates, and we had to pay all this $2,000, $2,500, something like that, to go in there at midnight till 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning and record this album. Well, at the time, everything in the world was fast, 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 fast. And of course, you probably noticed if you talked to me for 20 minutes now that I'm a pretty hyper fast moving guy. And then I was even more insane. So everything on the album turned out being so fucking fast, blast, blast. And I wasn't that good of a drummer, and I just was like doing the best I could. And the other guys were more talented than me. And it sort of came together, and it sort of didn't come together. In my opinion, just looking back, it's very sloppy. It's not what we visioned, but it is what it is. I mean, you learn from your mistakes. The only other issue at the time was that Doug Fowler, he had gone through that accident. He still fucked up from it, man, and I can't blame the man, but he was seeing the band differently than we were. Me, Mark, and Les were seeing it one way, he was seeing another. So me and Doug were having a lot of spats and verbal disagreements, and it was kind of uncomfortable at times in there, especially for Mark and Les, who were kind of like stuck in the middle. But we made it through it, and then we had to wait a year for Relapse to put it out. They took one track, Gut Wrench, and put it out as a 7-inch and a couple live tunes, and within that time, Dougie quit the band. So when it came time to lay out the material for the record cover and all this stuff, they were like, what are you going to use for art? So I was like, well, I want to use that picture from the movie Black Sabbath, but I don't have a picture of it. So we had the new guitar player who took Doug's place, Mike Smith, wife, took a picture of the TV, of it on the TV on a pause on a VHS. So we got that, and then we asked the Relapse, well, Mike doesn't play on the record, but he's in the band. Or do you want him in the picture, or do you want Doug? And they wanted Mike. So we put Mike on the back of the record, even though he didn't play on the record. And that pissed off Doug to no end. Because Doug, yes, he wrote a lot of that material with us. And his name was there as a guitar player, but he was so upset about that. So when it finally came out, by then we moved on from it, all the problems and stuff, and with Doug and just for looking back in those years I just told you about all the bad incidents and stuff. So that sticks with it. It sold really well when it came out. A lot of people, were like, wow, you guys got decent production for once. I was just like, oh man, it's sloppy. It's not as good as it can be, and I could have sang more my way and not so much low end, and it's not just what I want to do all the way. But people dug it, and we probably sold about 25,000 copies of the damn thing when it came out, and it was the stepping stone for us.
Oh, wow. And that's really quite a story, actually, right there.
We've been through a lot, man. We have been through a lot.
Oh, of course, I can definitely tell. Also, like one other thing was like, like what was how come like it was like the picture of that for the album cover? Like what was the how come that specific like part of that movie?
Why did I take that picture?
Yeah, exactly. What was it like?
I just thought that face was so disturbing. That image of that lady in that bed was so creepy. And at the time, everybody was doing I don't know, what all the times, but everybody was using Dan Seagrave then and Entombed, all the earache bands, Morbid Angel. And I always thought most of those drawings were they were like similar, or just like I always thought personally the Ultras of Madness cover is goofy. I didn't think it was heavy, evil. It looked stupid to me. It looked like Pac-Man Ghost, or like like I was thinking Smurfs. And I was like, let's do our own thing. Let's create our own vibe, our own aura, our own personality. And when we gave them that, they were like, man, this thing is fucking raw and fucking nasty and creepy. And they agreed with what I thought too, and we just threw it at them, and they loved it.
Oh, that's great, actually, because like, I gotta say, like I actually didn't even know that's actually how the album cover was actually made, because I saw the picture and I was thinking, I wonder where this is from, and then now that he told me, I'm like, oh, I never knew that.
Well, I thought it was a nice connection for a lot of things. First off, like I just said, I liked the way it looked. It was fitting of us. Second off, it's from the movie called Black Sabbath, which Black Sabbath, as I told you 20 minutes ago, is the band that pretty much sold my soul to heavy metal to. And so there's that. And if you look on the back of the original pressing, when they did have the picture with Mike, I'm wearing a Black Sabbath shirt. So there's a lot of Black Sabbath there, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely, of course. Well, one other thing I want to ask is this too, like, is like, since like you've seen like everything that's happened back like during like the I say like the glory times, because that's like when everything was like starting up and people were starting to know what was going on and all that. Like, do you still think it has that same vibe today, or not as much as it used to back then?
I wish it did, but it doesn't. It doesn't. It's a part of time. It's a moment in time that just can't be rekindled, be captured. There's good people, and you sound like a good person yourself. I know you're younger. How old are you?
I'm 26, and I'm about to go into 27.
Okay. So you're a younger cat. I wish I was still 26. I'm going to be 53 in July. But it was a special time. It really was. Like I said, when we were talking about the day of death, it was just a passion that was really there. I mean, you had to do a lot more then. Now, and I'm sure you do this, there's nothing wrong with doing this, but I'm saying, like, you probably have to Google a lot of stuff. So if you have a question you want to answer, you can go there and get it. Back then, you had to live it, man. If you wanted to send a letter, like, for example, the deal with relapse, we were pen paling it back and forth. I was waiting 10 days for letters to come from Colorado. I mean, and we're going back and forth. Sure, you can use the phone, but even back then, it was the 90. A long distance phone call, on a landline was like, it'd be like a $40 call, man, to talk to somebody for half an hour. Like, we're doing now. You're in New York, I'm here. And, back then, like $20 to talk to you for 20 minutes, So even that everything was slower. So it really was harder to do that kind of stuff. Like, you had to be all in. You couldn't just, like, oh, I'm going to go look at Google sometime today, blah, 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 and I'll get this, and I'll be able to hear this. I'll go to YouTube to hear this, or I'll go download this, or blah, blah, blah. And sure, if the heart's in the right place, then all of it makes sense. But a lot of people now I call the Google warriors, where they're just like heavy metal experts because of this. There's no longevity to it. There's no depth to it. There's no just intenseness to it like it is. And I, I'm a very outgoing guy. I don't know much you know about me and stuff, but I'll call it as I see it. And I think a lot of people are full of shit. There's a lot of hipster, just fucking bullshitters out there that follow trends, and there was some of that even back then to a degree. But now it just seems like it's everybody's playing copycat. It seems like, if I hear something like that, I'm like, that sounds like that, which sounded like this, which sounded like that. And they're like in this fourth, fifth generation, and it's all just not the same. It's hard to hear something unique or clever or, even good at stealing from others, I think, of the newer bands, or just, I don't even want to say newer bands, just things I hear. I keep up somewhat now, but I mean, I've done it for so long. I'm just like, after a while, when something like, if your car don't start 100 times, you don't try to start at 101.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. I definitely know. Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely know what you mean by that. But no,
but I also don't want to sound like an old fucking like you weren't there, fuck you kind of guy. I'm not saying that either. There's some genuine younger cats that are definitely into it, and they're fucking in this for life. They're passionate, and I get a vibe and a feel for people like that. And I've met some really nice people along the way, and I just wish everybody well. And I just hope everybody's intentions are for the better of the underground, because I've seen so much rock star bullshit, egos, divas, just bad stuff, what I call cancers and viruses that should not be in what we call, quote unquote, the underground. Because the underground is to be the opposite of all the shit that's wrong in Hollywood, music. You know what I'm saying? In the big boys league. All these little boats in big C's, they don't want to go into that level. They don't want to try to compete with the Kisses and the ACDCs and all that shit. But they want to get down here and be these big boats and little streams where there's a big monster in the underground and shit, and fuck you, we'll step on you. That's the shit that needs to be flipped and kicked the fuck out of the scene.
Oh yeah, no.
We're all in this together. I've gone and played shows with bands, and they're like, man, it'd be cool if we set fire to our fucking logo on a fucking on a cross and stuff. Are you cool with that? I'm like, yeah, man, whatever the fuck you do it. Either like we're the headliner, man. Like this happened to us. I'll give you an example. When our first death metal festival we played was Michigan Death Fest, which was right before the Day of Death. We had issues with Morbid Angel from the get-go. They didn't want to let us put our banners up. They wanted to treat everybody like shit. They were all, we're the guys everybody's here for, blah, blah, blah. Fuck that. And I told them straight up. I told Dave Vincent that day, I'm not taking this shit. And he got it. Trey Asengard did not get it. He was he's a piece of shit. I don't like that guy. Never have since and never will. But that's the kind of shit we were hearing. Like, oh man, these guys will let us do our stuff. And we played shows, again, Morbid Angel. We played a show in New York. They made us sign a contract, brother, that we could not sell our merchandise within 1 mile of the club. And it was genuinely 1 mile of the club, because after we played and left, I was outside and guys said, "Can I get a shirt, man? Can I get a shirt?" I said, "Yeah." And one of their fucking, henchmen came outside and said, "It is not 1 mile. It is not, a mile from the club. You cannot do this." And I'm like, "This is the fucking underground." We played shows with other bands, that they were like, "You got to sell your T-shirts for as much as we sell ours for." Those were fucking 10-colored, long sleeve, $40 shirts. Ours were a black shirt with a white logo on it. We're selling them for 10, and they're like, "You got to sell them for 40 because we can't be undercut." I'm like, "This is not what I signed it up for." I mean, even with Relapse, when we lost our fucking our good vibe with them, he was selling our stuff in Hot Topic for $35. I'm like, "Dude, a T-shirt is not $35 in my world. A CD is not $18.95 in my world. It's $10, $25 for a long sleeve." That's what I see. That's why I'm in the underground, is to keep prices down. Is to be the opposite of the Hollywood world, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean by that. Cause like, I don't know if you're familiar with this genre, but like, have you heard of the genre slam?
Yeah.
Like, I was like I was I listened to a lot of like the first like beginning of slam death metal, but like you said, like right there, like I feel like a lot of like slam bands today like have like completely nothing to offer anymore these days.
It's just, I mean, there's a lot of greedy people. There's a lot of people sticking their hands out for money and just fucking it all up, dude. A lot of clubs are gone because of COVID, but you should see how many clubs stop booking death metal because bands will come through and ask for like $10,000 to play a show. And I don't care who you are, how popular you are. You're not going to make $10,000 in fucking income to have these shows there. And so, these clubs got uninterested quickly on these kind of bands because of shit like that. And that's just bullshit to me. I got guys I grew up with, and some of the guys left the band, and I'm friends with. But I'm going to use Dying Fetus as an example. Okay, they were playing a place in D.C. called the Pinch. Now the Pinch is nothing more than a basement with a front about a fucking 7-foot ceiling in it. And if you're not one of the first 10 people standing there in the front, you won't see anything. Okay, because it's like being in a basement at a basement party. Okay, well they went in there. And they did 2 nights in there, charging people $25-$30 to get in for fucking basically limited to no view of the band. And I fucking was telling some friends, "That's bullshit." I'm like, "That's fucking bullshit." We played that place, and we're bigger than that place too. But we're like, it was like fucking $8, $10, to get in. We're saying, "Hey, this is like a basement party situation." And I gave them hell. I'm like, "Man, that's fucking lame, dude." I'm like, "It's fucking lame." Now it's not my fucking department to tell anybody what they want to charge, and if somebody wants to go see them and pay that, more power to you. But fucking, it's just not my world, and I speak up of things like that because I want to see the thing succeed. Because one of 2 things will happen. They'll either go in and people will go see them and be like, "I couldn't see shit, I ain't doing that again," or the club will be like, "Not a lot of people showed up because if they don't pay $25, you're not seeing the band." You know what I'm saying? So that was just an example of what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. One other question I want to ask is also this, like, you mentioned the first Michigan Death Fest one. I actually remember actually watching the videos about actually what happened during that. Actually, what was that like?
That was great. It was an interesting thing. Okay, first out of state metal festival we ever did. It was in a hockey arena. We had all our friends try. By then I'll give you a little more background. We had become the band as far as death metal, if you want to call it that, because the Seats has a different style than most of the Gurgle or death metal. And as we've gotten older, you probably noticed that too in our later albums. But anyway, we became this really popular band in our area. We were what you call local heroes. We could go play a club in D.C. and pack it out. And we were the first band anywhere in Virginia, especially in Northern Virginia. There might have been an at-war down in, Southern Virginia that was doing thrash and all that kind of stuff. But in our area, like I said earlier, nobody was like, "Well, fucking Slayer, Hyrax, what the fuck is this?" Very few people. So when we got asked to go do that show, we were like, "This is going to be killer." We were thinking of the bands of the day, which was Morbid Angel, Sacrifice, Nuclear Death, Fatal. These were all bands that we knew and stuff. And we were like, "All right, let's go have fun." So we pull up, we drive to Michigan. We all get in the van. There's tons of us, cars following us, just all of our local yokels fucking going to go party and have a blast at the Michigan Death Fest. So we go up there, we pull up, and the first thing I do is see churchgoers. they're fucking picketing the fucking event. Fucking this Satan's music must die, and they're, fuck you. And I know them coming up to me going, "Just see Keith, what does worship the coffin mean? And I'm like talking to him, and I'm being sensible. I mean, I remember Morbid Angel guys like saying, "Oh yeah, we fuck Satan, or we fuck nuns up the ass, and we're here for Satan," and just playing to them, And I just told me, I remember telling them, they asked me about, well, were we evil? And I was like, what makes us evil? I was like, we're just playing music. We're playing themes on things. People can talk about things and not necessarily be them. And then I gave an example as I was talking to him about Max von Sydow, who played the priest in the movie The Exorcist. And I said, he was in a movie about fucking the devil. And I said, does that make him a Satanist? No. I said, it's just a fucking role. I said, we write songs about lots of things, And I was like, Tom, at the time we were writing about the end of the world and kind of, Armageddon and things like that. And I said, it's just themes. It's just what it is. And then when the news clips later on, this was obviously weeks later, but when the news clips came back to me, they didn't use anything I said because I thought making sense. But these people that were like, fuck you, drink beer, fuck girls, eat shit, smoke drugs. They put all that over the TV because that's what they wanted. They wanted to get their message across. This is how metalheads are. Not all of us are that way. So that's what started the day. We got inside. We met up with Metal Mom, who was the promoter, who told me she was having a nightmare with Morbid Angel already. They were fucking giving her, if I don't have fucking this brand of coffee in the next 45 seconds, we're fucking walking. And she just happened to her twice, 3 times, to the point she was in fucking tears. I'll never forget it. She was in fucking tears, this lady. So I was in the back bitching and moaning about this. And again, this was a hockey arena, so the back area is pretty loud. The balls are bouncing. And that's what got Dave from Morbid Angel to come over to me, Dave Vincent, and be like, King, Fowley, can I talk to you for a minute? We knew each other. And I said, yeah. I told him, this is bullshit. We're all here to do the same thing. You're not letting anybody hang their banners. You're taking all this fucking charge. All of a sudden it's you and everybody under you. I said, I'm not playing that game, dude. I brought my banner because we're deceased and we're going to hang it so people can know who we are, because that's why we're here, to make fucking, some supporters, to get fucking people to know who we'll be doing, what we're about. And if they want to like us, they have a chance to like us. And they're going, who was that band? I don't know. All I saw was, you mean the guys that were in front of the Morbid Angel shit all night? I was like, well, when you put the Deceased stuff, they know who you are. And so he actually helped us put the banner up. He got our banner up, we did our thing, and we went over great. And one of the coolest things for us that night was the sound was pretty bad in there. Whoever their sound man was horrible. But by sheer coincidence, regular sound man from the Washington DC shows we played he showed up. He's like, man, I saw you guys were playing this festival. I'm happy to be in town. So I come down here and check it out. I said, well, you want to do fucking sound for us? So we ended up having basically the best sound of the whole fucking festival, which was cool. I can't say we had better tunes or worse, but we definitely had the best mix from the stage that afternoon. So when it was over, we all went and hung out. Most of the night we hung out with mostly Nuclear Death. Petey from Morbid Angel was hanging out with us. We drank our beer. We talked our talk, and we had a blast, man. It was fun as hell. It was a big place. It probably held like 5,000 people. There was probably like about 600 people there, but so it looked empty. But it was, for a metal show, it was a lot of people, especially for the time and the bands that were on the bill. But it was definitely it was a good memory. But it also served to show them right from the start, there's some fucking rock star shit going on here too. With the good, there's the bad.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, of course, because like I said, I saw the actual news footage on YouTube, and I always wondered what happened at that festival.
They were just being clowns. Those people. They had. I mean, I'll let anybody say what they want to say. I'll listen to it. But when you're just talking out of your ass, you're just talking out of your ass.
Oh yeah, of course. Because I saw like I said, I saw the footage, and I was like, and then I was watching, and I was thinking are these people for real?
Unfortunately, they were, man.
Yeah, because I'm like it's just a festival for music. There's nothing wrong going on at all.
They just they see something that they don't like and they attack it.
Oh yeah, that's something I actually remember seeing in that. So one other thing I wanted to ask was what would he what would he say is the best show that you ever been to? What would you say was the show that marked saying that this is the best show I've been to?
The best concert I ever went to, there's a special reason for it, is when I first saw Boy Bond. It was in New York at the Ritz, 1986. It was our first out of state show. Rob and Larry, the two guys that ended up dying, were part of that. So they went with us, so that's a special memory. But we had made a plan, all of us, to go to New York to see Voivod. And of course, with Voivod, we also got to see Venom, because Venom was the headliner. We were all Voivod fanatics. They're still my favorite underground band of all time. But that was good. That was good. Pen pals with them, and we talked on the phone with Voivod. And they're like, "We're coming to America. We got one show. We're opening for Venom." So we went up there, and it was 2 nights. The first night it was Venom, Carnivore, and Overkill. And some of us that had extra money got to go to that. I did. I got to see that. And some people had to wait in the car. They didn't have enough money to see both nights. And the second night, it was Voivod, then the Cro-Mags, and then Venom. And we went there, we met Voivod, and we all, we smoked our weed and our hash, whatever we did then. And we hung out with bands like Whiplash and Blessed Death, who were in attendance too. And it was just such a special time, again, because of that passion. And it was just like you looking up to your idols, because we were so into Voivod. We're looking up to our idols and going, we have to be 10 times as good as this, or we're just not that good. And it was just we had. It was a wake-up call, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is how intense it could be. Because up to then, a lot of bands we had seen, they were more like on the heavy metal side. We'd seen our Queensryches and our Twisted Sisters and our Ravens and Anthraxes and all that, but then we're seeing this fucking vicious shit come at us. When they come on stage then, this is like before they put out Roar, their second album. So Voivod, as you know, they got psychedelic and weirder as time went on, but the earliest of records are the most, to me, Voivod War and Pain is the most barbaric record ever made by anybody. I just think it's the most savage thing. And they just finished Roar, it wasn't out yet. They came on stage, he had a fucking hot oil fucking can in his head with a gas mask, and he was shooting like hot oil at people and shit, and just going nuts. And I'm like, look at this. And then we're just blown away, And when we got in there, like, we're all lead heads and shit at the time. I could care less of that. I went to the front when we got in there, was general admission, and I sat there with my arms on the stage with a fucking Kodak 24 picture old school camera, and stood there until they played, because I was going to be front and center. I stood there from like 4 o'clock till like 9 o'clock when they went on stage.
Oh wow, that must have been quite a great experience for you.
It's amazing. What's the coolest thing is the whole concert's on YouTube. And what's even cooler is after the one song, he looks at me and he goes, "After the bloodshed, huh?" And that was the first song on the first demo we did. And because he knew it, Deceased. They were so broken English, they thought the band was called Deceased, no D at the end. And if you look in the thanks list on Roar, it says King of Deceased. There's no D there. And when he saw me wearing my leather jacket that said Deceased on it, he goes, "Oh, it's Deceased, not Deceased." So, those guys are the best. They're my favorites. They're still the dearest friends to me, man. Rest in peace, Biggie. I love that guy. I've seen those guys. I've seen them 51 times, dude. 51 times I've seen Voivod since 1986.
That's awesome, man. That I'm happy to hear all about that. One other thing I wanted to ask was like, do you actually let me ask you, do you still have like any old like demo tapes that you used to collect during the tape trading scene times?
I have one of the biggest demo collections there ever was. I sold a lot of them years ago just because it was just so insane, and some of the bands were just not that good, or just some of the stuff was not that important to me. I still have a lot. It's funny you say that, because I went down this morning in my basement where I still have my tubs of old stuff, and I was pulling out all kinds of stuff. I was Phantom Warrior came up this morning, who was an old New Jersey thrash band. Sick from Hate from Connecticut was an old death metal crazy band. Tons of live tapes. I actually pulled this morning, this is funny you said that, I pulled this morning Mortician from Day of Death. I recorded the soundboard. I used to go to the shows and go over to the soundboard and tell the guy, "Hey, here's a blank tape. Put this in for me." And if you see bootlegs of Autopsy from Day of Death, or I don't know if Mortician came out, all those tapes came from me. Those are my master tapes, because I put the tape in the tape deck and asked the guy, "Just run it through the board. Let it run through the board." I have Deceased from there. I think I have Philharmonic Orchestra from there, maybe Repulsion. Like, I have a lot of those tapes. Yeah, I still have a lot of stuff. I mean, they've been sitting so long, brother. I mean, in my heyday, I had 18,000 vinyls. I had like 9,000 CDs and probably like 30,000 cassettes, dude. In my heyday. I've got narrowed it down through the years. These days, I'm more of a DVD collector. I'm more of or just a movie collector. I have 20,000 easily in my house.
Oh wow, that's actually really cool that you actually. I didn't even know you recorded the soundboard for the Day of Death from Mortician.
I did, yeah, I did a lot of stuff, man. I used to go to everything. I have shows that I haven't even let out, or I don't even know if I still have them. But I used to have a friend, well, he's still my friend, this guy Vince. He actually sang in Dying Fetus for a little while, Vinny Matthews, and he would borrow my tapes, and he sometimes wouldn't bring them back. And I had one when they did the U.S. tour, was Unleashed and Tomb and Morbid Angel. I was going around with friends with mainly Entombed and Unleashed, and we were taping every night, and I was getting lots of soundboards and stuff, and he would just take them, and he would leave them in somebody's car or fucking at a party, and they'd be gone. I was telling him, dude, these are unreplaceable. You know, it's not like you can go in the store and buy another one. This is a one-time recording, but I have tons of crazy shit from back then.
That like I said, that's really awesome, man. Also, like I didn't like now. Now this is actually more exciting for me because I have the CD from Mortician called From the Casket, and it actually does
Okay.
have some audio recordings of the Day of Death. So now that I know that you did the
I've traded
soundboard.
with exactly. I've traded with so many people. I don't even know who would have gotten me what they would have done with it. But yeah, I've definitely seen. I think I saw like a Mortician Immolation sport 7-inch one time, fake bootleg, and it had like songs from there. And I'm like thinking to myself, well, who did I get tape that for? And I was like, I can't narrow it down. There was a lot of people because I was into tape trading pretty heavily until like probably like 95, 96. I was just upstairs yesterday going through old Deceased Live soundboards. I probably have 200 of those on cassette days, even before CDRs, you know, just from back in the days when we would play shows.
Oh, sweet. One other thing I want to say, do you still listen to those cassettes these days, or not much as you used to?
I think I said they've been in tubs in the basement. It's not so much I don't want to hear them or anything. They're just out of reach a lot of times. A lot of my shit is buried. You know, I have so much stuff. It's insane. And the reason they're coming up to the fucking the ground floor of my house is because I just hooked the tape deck into my computer to start burning this stuff, and I'm going to start putting it on YouTube. It's going to be a lot of deceased stuff first, obviously, and things I was a part of. But at some point, I'll put some more of that stuff. I want people to enjoy it. You know, I don't want it to get fucking dry rotted or fucking thrown in the trash or just whatever happens to the stuff that from people's basements. Because there's horror stories like that. I want people to enjoy that kind of stuff. Because I sure as hell am not going to throw it in the trash. You know what I'm saying? But I was just looking earlier, like I said, I got live tapes, every fucking thing you can think of, dude. Hundreds of them. I had a Madonna soundboard down there. It was a Madonna soundboard, and it's just crazy. All the crap I collect.
I actually started collecting cassettes now, just a whole 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, cassettes are coming back a little bit. It's weird. I mean, cassettes aren't that good of quality and stuff, but they're kind of fun. They're very easy to fucking put in your pocket, go somewhere and jam them. You know, if you got your player and stuff. But they serve their purpose. They get the music around, but the quality's, I would say, poor to decent most of the time, you know?
Oh yeah, it's not as like great quality as like a vinyl or a CD.
Right, like somebody's just been releasing the key stuff on cassette. And we've only been doing like 100 runs at a time because it's like, huh? But there's still 100 people out there like, yeah, I love my cassettes, man, so we have to do it for them.
Nice. One other thing I wanted to ask was I don't know if you actually know about this, but there's let me think what I was gonna say actually. There's a good friend of mine who actually uploads a lot of death metal demos on his YouTube channel. Actually, I don't know if you heard of him or maybe not, but he goes by the name of Ken's Death Metal Crypt. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't think so. Maybe if I saw his page, maybe, but not ringing a bell name wise.
Because he's a really good friend of mine, and he actually uploads a lot of very old death metal type of demos from back in the time, actually, like that stuff that probably people have never really heard of just until right now. But you should really check it out if you're interested, because he has a lot of good stuff up there.
Yeah, I'll take a look. Yeah, sure. Send me his link on Facebook Messenger.
Oh, I sure will.
Yeah, I mean, I love my demo tapes. I love it. They serve their purpose, man. They're just, now it's just stuff I'm not the kind of guy. I don't throw nothing in the trash, man. I mean, that's bullshit.
Yeah, of course. What I was gonna say was what, you shouldn't, because that stuff's history right there.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I wanted to get out there and let people hear it. It's just a lot of work for me. I'm a busy guy. Even during the COVID, I'm just doing a lot of shit. But I'm going to try to find time to do it. I mean, I was trying to get out and play music with Deceased, man. Shit, we're sitting home for fucking. Last year was our 35th anniversary. We got to play one show before the COVID fucking lockdown game. That's it. So now we're in our 36 years together now.
That's great, actually. Congratulations to you guys.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's fun. It's just sitting out sucks.
Yeah, because I can tell you one thing. I really miss a lot of shows right now at the moment.
Yeah, it's a shame, man. Hopefully it comes back around and everybody's safe and all that kind of shit. It's just the world is the world, man. It's a wacky thing out there.
Oh yeah, definitely. It really is. One other thing I wanted to ask was like, is there any like new material coming out for Deceased or not at the moment at this time?
We are well, actually we're going to be putting out an all covers CD here in the next 2 months. It's called after the movie. It's called Thrash Times at Ridgemont High instead of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's all covers of old thrash songs. It's an idea I've had since the fucking middle of the 90s. And we had time now to do it because we're waiting to write the new material for the next record. Mike Smith, the guitar player, he's in the government. He's overseas right now. He's living like right outside of Turkey. And he's going to be coming back around October. And he'll be staying in America again. And we're going to get starting writing the next Deceased album, which is called Children of the Morgue. So yeah, there's going to be another record, probably 2 records kind of quick. So Mike's coming back, he'll be back for, in America forever now. A lot of time, the last 2 records are taking so long because he's been so busy with the government stuff for like 5-6 years. It was hard to get together and jam like, once a month. So it took time to put together like the last record, Ghostly White. But yeah, we're going to get to it. We're definitely going to put out the Thrash Times Ridgemont High thing. And then we're definitely going to, Children of the Morgue is coming on Hells and Bangers.
Nice. I'm looking forward to whenever that comes out.
Right on.
Like I love the name too, Children of the Morgue. That's a really nice name.
I like it too. I always wanted to do something with Children of the something in there. Maiden had Children of the Damned, Sabbath had Children of the Grave, I was like, gotta have a Children of the something for us. So I was like, Children of the Morgue, man, let's go.
Nice. One other thing I want to ask now is like, actually, I wanted to ask this. Like, what got you guys wanting to go from death metal to thrash metal?
This is something I've been asked before. Like, this is my take on death metal. When I was growing up, I know you're young. When I was growing up, metal church was called death metal. Okay, metal church was called death metal. Okay, it was a different vibe then. First Goal was called death metal. Things like even Venom was death metal back then. I know it's black metal, whatever you want to, for their names or whatever their album. But we're still that style. To me, we're still playing like, in my opinion. Stuff like Obituary and Cannibal Corpse doesn't make me think of death. It doesn't make me think death metal. It just makes me think kind of stuff. It doesn't give me an eerie vibe. It doesn't give me an aura. It doesn't creep me out. That's why I think what we're doing, especially these days now, we're going for a darker, like more. One guy said he thinks that we're dramatic. He's like, you're so dramatic in your music. It's creepy. It's haunting. He goes, and that's what I think about it. Because to me, we're still playing death metal from the grave is what our slogan is. But yes, there's heavy metal in there too. But then if you go back to that first demo that I said we were the fastest sickest band in the world, one of the songs was called Sick Thrash, okay? One of the songs I wrote was called March of the Cadavers. It was an instrumental. It sounded like Manowar. So we've always had that there. The melodies, the lead work, the layered guitars, they came as we got older and better at our instruments. We learned how to play the leads right. We didn't want to do stuff we couldn't recreate on stage. So that's kind of where it's come to that way. I think it really, really got heavy once we got the Fearless Undead Machines. Because I know Mike Smith said he liked to write like more, he had a heavy metal vibe more than we just never fit in with those bands. We never fit in with the Obituaries, the Cannibal Corpses, that kind of shit. It's just not us, we're just not that. And I think you may think Luck of the Corpse to a degree. And like I said earlier, like I don't really sing as much like that. That wasn't my style. That was more Doug saying like, you should sing lower like these other bands do. And I was just like, that ain't me. I kind of did it on that record to kind of like be, democratic about it, but it just wasn't us. And then as we went on from 13 Frightened Souls, I went more to a Shriek, and then Blueprints from Madness, which I think Blueprints from Madness is pretty much our most record we have. I think it's way more grr than Luck of the Corpse. And then Fearless just got more of a heavy metal vibe, and we've just kind of rode from there. Whatever comes out, comes out.
Huh. I see. Like, like I said, like I was just wondering, like how come like the different change from like Luck of the Corpse to like where Ghostly White is right now.
Well, I mean, that's just, to me, it's just natural progression. It's just how we got through the years. I mean, you're looking at Luck of the Corpse, we were 22 when we did Luck of the Corpse. Now I'm 50. When we did Ghostly White, I was 50, 49. You know what I'm saying? Writing that stuff, I was there. I mean, that's a lot of years, a lot of different ways of looking at the music. And of course, you don't want to repeat yourself. And you also, I'm proud to say, I don't think we've, and I stand by this. I'm proud to say, I think we've never done a poor album. I've never done what I call rent records, just people throwing together 8 new songs and calling it a record. You know, a lot of bands will do that. I want our material to be the very best it can be. It's our eulogy. It'll be here long after we're gone, for better or for worse. And, you know, I want to give every record everything we got.
Oh yeah, of course. Like I gotta say, like I said, you guys are awesome. I love Deceased. You guys are just awesome.
I appreciate that. I mean, thank you. You know, some people like it, some people don't. You know, I'll give you an example. We went and played the Keep It True Festival. You familiar with that in Germany?
What was the name of it again?
Keep It True.
Uh, this is the first time I'm actually hearing about this.
All right, well, Keep It True is usually a heavy metal thing. Like, they'll bring back bands from the past, and they'll be like, here's States Warning, or here's Metal Church, you know, something that hasn't done it, and they'll get them to play all their classic stuff. So it's a lot of heavy, pure, heavy traditional metal. You know, think Halloween, think Jag Panzer, that kind of stuff, right? Well, we got asked to play it with Deceased. And we went there and we played it. When I went on stage, the first thing I said in the microphone was, I don't sing like the guy from Halloween. Okay? So we played. We were loud, wild, and crazy. And when it was over, some people got it and some people didn't. And I remember walking around after it was over and some girl coming up to me going, thank you. And I go, why? She goes, because you broke up the monotony of the day. You guys were different than everybody else because you were heavier than anything else here. It was more like a Venom playing on the show with, you know, Saxon, or it was one of those kind of bands, Crocus, or something like that. And then I was like, well, thank you. And then not a week later, and I think you're familiar with the Neurotic Death Fest.
Neurotic Death Fest. Actually, to be honest, that's it's like this is the first time I'm hearing about these names.
Okay, the Neurotic Death Fest is in the Netherlands. Okay, and that's all the grrr bands. Okay, but for example, that day it was Massacre, it was Pungent Stench, it was Terrorizer, it was I don't know who else, but it was those kind of bands. So we went up there and we played what we play. And when it was over, somebody came up to me and goes, thank you. And I said, why? And it said, for breaking up the monotony. I said, why? And it said, because you are more melodic and more heavy metal than all these girl bands. So we stood out at Keep It True because we were too fucking heavy for them. And then we stood out at Neurotic Death Festival because we were too fucking light for them. So sometimes it works for you. When Relapse used to have it, they didn't know how to market us. They didn't know if we were heavy metal, if we were grind, if we were death metal, if we were thrash. I just told them, just put death metal from the grave and leave it at that. You know, let us be us. Don't leave us in a genre, because I tell you what, I can blast with the best of them if I have to, and I can fucking play the heavy metal the way I need to if need be.
Oh yeah, no, it's always good to have like a different like variety of different genres of bands sometimes at these fests, because then it breaks up the same things happening over and over again.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of a song. It's not about a brutality for me. It's about having a song, something memorable, something catchy, and the song makes you want to play it again. I listen to a lot of those death metal bands, and all I hear is, and I'm just like, I don't want to hear that again. If I hear a band that's to me crazy fast, like in Platinum Batango, love them because they're catchy, they're memorable. You know, they do the hooks. You know, then they're still crazy as shit. You know, then they're cool. But if these bands I hear, and it's like, you know, whatever, I'm just like, this ain't for me.
No, I hear it. No, I hear what you're saying actually about that. And one thing I want to also ask like too is um like is there like a band that you kind of like wish you actually saw today that basically isn't playing live anymore, but you still wish they were?
Well, most of the bands I wish were still playing live, somebody died from the band. Like, I would love to have seen, I don't know if you know who the Plasmatics are, Wendy O. Williams.
No, I never actually heard them.
Okay, well, the Plasmatics was one of my favorite bands growing up. They were crazy. The girl was insane. She'd come on stage with her boobs hanging out and had nipples, had her tape over her nipples, and she'd take chainsaws and cut up shit, and she'd blow up cars on stage, and the band was just insane. Well, I never got to see them, and that's one band I always wished that I got to see. She ended up committing suicide, so I never got to see them. That's one I wish was still playing. As for a band that's not together that I wish was still playing that's alive and could do it, I would like to see like Acid was a band I like to see from Belgium. They're a heavy metal band, a girl singer too. You might not know them either, but yeah, those are some of the bands. I mean, most of the I've been lucky. I've seen so many bands. Played with lots of my idols and things like that, and just cool people. So I'm happy about that. But I'm still a big fan of music. I go the bands I never miss. I'm going to you this way: the bands I never miss. Iron Maiden is my favorite band of all time. I will never miss an Iron Maiden concert. I will never miss. I always go see. I try to see Kiss every tour. I love Kiss, as you know. I told you were my first loves. And Voivod, I try never to miss. I did miss Voivod last time, which would have been 52 because my van broke down. But other than that, those are three bands I never miss. And if something wants to come through, that hasn't done it, I will go see it in a heartbeat. There's so few bands that just have that passion or that fire anymore, man. I love it when it happens, but it doesn't happen that often.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely understand what you mean by that. Has there ever been actually no is there what kind of idols in metal do you really look up to a lot? Like, what would you say is like the most ones that still keep you pushing to keep on going to do what you love?
Well, my personal idol, is Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. The reason being is he's still the same guy he was all those years ago. He still looks the same. The band never changed their sound or style to do something to be hip. I remember when heavy metal was not cool in the 90s. They did not go Pantera like Judas Priest did. They did not go rap or hip-hop or college rock like whoever did. They just kept doing what they did. They played smaller clubs and just rode the storm out. And I got to meet Steve Harris last year. He was in a side band he has, and they played up here in Pennsylvania. And I watched him play for 2 hours in a little club. This was a little club. The band's called British Lion. He played in a little club. There was about 150 kids there. And they played for 2 hours, and it was a dead of winter, and they had the heat on in there, and it was fucking hot as shit. And you're talking about Steve Harris, a man probably worth $150 million on his own court. When the show was over, which was about 1:30 in the morning, I watched the man pick up his own bass head, take it off stage. I watched him come back, take his basses and their cases off stage. I watched him pick up and put on a roly-poly, his fucking bass cabinet, and roll it off the stage. Now, this is the guy that's worth $150 million, and, he could have a lot of yes bands for him. I watched him do this. Then I watched him leave the area, and they said, man, Steve Harris is probably going to come out and sign stuff for all you Maiden freaks. It's just him, but he knows, he knows where he's at and stuff, and the other band's cool with it, his other band members. Well, then they said, well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're supposed to be in New York at 4 a.m. for hotel check-in, so he's probably not going to come out. Well, then all of a sudden someone told me, don't go nowhere, he's coming out. And he said he's taking a quick shower, he's going to come out and meet everybody. So then he sat at the end of the bar, and a line of over 100 people that, were only there for him. Let's be honest here. We're only there for him. He said, he got somebody to yell from the top of the bar, everybody can get 2 things signed and a picture. Steve Harris. And when I got up there to meet the guy, I told him, I said, I'm a big boy now, but I'm a 300-pound man. I told him, I've been into you since I was skinny. And he laughed. And I said, thank you so much, man. He said, it's always about the punters, meaning the fans in British slang. And he said, I'm always going to make time for the kids, man, always, no matter what. And this guy was fucking exhausted. He gave his all on that stage for a little-known band. And I just went, this is what it's all about. This is the genuine product right here in front of me. And then I got the picture with him and shake his hand. And it made the whole COVID year just not matter after that. Between that and my son having his son made my whole year.
That's really great, actually. That's an amazing story, actually. That really is.
Yeah, he's my idol, dude. That's the guy I look up to, man. He's just Maiden did it their own way. They went out and played. They earned the ranks, and they're huge. They're fucking huge.
Oh yeah, of course. Like, I've heard a lot of Iron Maiden albums during like a lot of times.
Right.
Let me think what else I wanted to say. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think of what I really want to say at this point. Oh yeah, actually, do you still have like a lot of those signatures that you got right now?
What, the signatures?
Yeah, that he got signed back then. Do you still have them now?
Oh, everybody I've ever met, I've got them all, dude. I've met a lot of my idols. Another one of my people I love. My favorite song of all time is by a band called Triumph. The song is called "Fight the Good Fight." Me and my wife got to go to a little club up here in Pennsylvania in the middle of winter in a snowstorm. We went up there and we got VIP and we went and met the guy. His name's Rick Emmett. We met him and he signed "Fight the Good Fight" to me on a picture, man. That made my year that year. That's my favorite song ever written by anybody. So yeah, I've got that. I've got a lot of people I've met, pictures and stuff. I keep it all, man. It all means the world to me, man. All of it. I would never want to lose any of it.
That's great. That really is awesome. And I also like I gotta say it's a pleasure talking to you. By the way.
That's cool, man. I appreciate the support. Anything. I'm always here for everybody, man. I want to make sure everybody keeps on doing things, and and we're all in this together, man. And people go, "Oh, will you sign this for me? Do I need to give you money?" I'm like, why would you have to give me money to sign something, man? It's just a fucking ink pen. So I put my fucking scribble on there, and there it is. We're all in this together, man. That's why I got in this, to have a good time.
Oh, of course. That's why I always consider the entire metal community like a whole family to me.
And that's what I want to keep it, man. Everybody has their purpose, man. We're all swinging it out. We're all fucking breathing the same goddamn air, man.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about that for sure. Also, actually, one other thing I want to ask now is, are you a fan of black metal or any other genres of metal?
It depends on where you go with black metal. I'm not a big black metal guy. I don't like a lot of the bands. I thought a lot of those bands were some of the worst culprits of the egotism issues, especially the '90s, early '90s stuff. A lot of those people I didn't care for. For me, the black metal wave that I grew up with is Merciful Fate, Venom, Bathory, the very early Bathory. And then some of the lesser, maybe not so genuine, but fun, like Exorcist, Nightmare Theater, things like that were fun. Maybe the second wave, I really liked the first Master Hammer record, Ritual. Are you familiar with that?
What was the band called again? Sorry.
Master Hammer from. You ever heard of them?
Yeah, I did hear the name. Yes.
Yeah, the first album, Ritual, is good. I hear some of it now and then, and most of it just comes and goes. It just doesn't do a lot for me. Yeah, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite genre of stuff. My favorite stuff, honestly, is like good hard rock metal stuff. I grew up with a lot of the British stuff, like again, Maiden, my Sabbath, especially. I love the Sabbath stuff. It would be telling you to just be common shit. You're like that. You don't go outside the box. I do, but I still come back to the classics, man. Uriah Heep, Michael Schenker group, things like that. It's just what I listen to all the time. Fully Vaughn, if you want to go a little bit more underground, which, they're even pretty known these days. I still love my heavy metal Maniac from Exciter, and I love the first Slayer, So No Mercy, and things like that. But if you're going to ask me about, I don't know, Emperor, or any of that stuff, and all that stuff, that wave, or even the newer stuff, it's not going to be something that excites me that much.
No, I understand what you mean by that. Yeah, I definitely.
I know a lot of people love it, man. I stand in room, and I see people that love it, but they dig. Always love what you love, man. To each their own.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that for sure. One other thing I want to ask is do you like any do you like any slam bands actually or nah?
What name something? I'll tell you right now.
Any cerebral incubation or epicardiectomy or anything like that?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Just like you're asking when I'm telling you the neurotic test fest, you don't know what I'm talking about. I've never heard of that stuff, and I couldn't tell you if I liked it or not.
Okay, because that's actually that's a genre of death metal that's really chuggy and has guttural vocals and a lot of down-tuned guitars.
When you send me that link to your guys' YouTube page, send me something you like from there. I'll listen to it. I'll give you an honest reply on that.
Sure, I'd like to see what you think about it, because I hear that. Now, I'm a really huge brutal death metal and slam death metal fan, but I love to know the different views of what other people think about it.
Sure, send me something. Send me something you really like, and that'll give me a good idea, and I'll tell you, hey, I like it or nah, that'll do nothing for me. I won't pull punches with you.
Oh, of course, absolutely. I said, I like to hear other people's opinions on things, so I can have a whole perspective of what they think.
Right. Cool.
Let me think what else I was gonna say. Oh, but yeah, actually, besides just metal in general, like, what other things do you like to do? Like, what are your other hobbies?
I love collecting movies. I love watching lots of movies, especially horror. And like I said, I got thousands of movies. Right now, just spending time with my wife. Me and my wife live in a house together, and we spend a lot of time together. Some family time. I have one son who just had a son, and he's married, and they live about an hour from us. We try to see them sometimes. As far as things, hobbies, I like to go flea marketing. I like to do that. I like to we go to the drive-in movies a lot. You see a lot of movies at the drive-in, even before the COVID thing made them popular. We go traveling hundreds of miles to see movies that are sitting right downstairs in my living room, just so we can get out of the house and see them in a different perspective. Outside of that, again, I love my football. I love watching football. Unfortunately, the football season's out. I watch some other sports. I like my hoops too, some basketball. Other than that, just shooting the shit with friends. Talking history, talking nostalgia, things like that. Old TV, things I grew up with. Stuff from fucking 40 years ago now. And that's about it.
That's really awesome, actually, because do you like any old old classic video games or any video games in general, or not? That's not really a thing.
I wasn't a big video game guy. Well, my era was before, all the home games. I grew up, the video arcades, and we go in there, and I was around when Space Invaders came out, so that's how old I am. But we'd have some fun in there, mostly meeting girls and stuff. So it wasn't all the video games, but I did have some times with the early Nintendo. I remember in television, into ColecoVision, which got to Nintendo, and I had some of those in the house. I had a friend that worked at a store used to give me a quote-unquote discount on some stuff, kind of free games for a while there back in the 80s, and I had a lot of that. I grew up with the Super Mario and all that kind of shit, too. It was fun. If I was pick some home games I liked then, I would say way long time ago, way before PlayStation or any of that. And I'm sure they're still making these games probably crazy as hell now for newer systems, but I always liked the early Contra was a good one. I liked Elevator Action, Frogger, just crap like that. I played it some, but to say I was a diehard, not me. My son, much so more. My son's close to your age. He's 30. He'll be 32 this year.
Oh wow.
He loves that crap. He likes that stuff too, because we grew up, we played it together as his father and stuff, and but he knows all that stuff. I kind of got out about the time Sonic the Hedgehog came around, man.
Nice. One of my friends is actually a really huge fan of that.
I think I saw a picture of you holding up a game. Don't you have a picture on your Facebook of that?
Oh, actually, that was actually a picture of me holding up a Kingdom Hearts game that I love.
Okay. See, I don't know nothing about any of that stuff, but I just don't ever spend time on that anymore. I'd rather watch a movie.
I'm not really that big of a gamer either, to be honest with you. I just only like specific series. I don't go all the way and like people who really play it almost to the point of that. That's basically all they do.
Right? Oh yeah, I'm sure. I know some people that won't leave their friggin' house, man.
Let me think. I was I want to say. Oh yeah, actually, since I'm hearing that you love horror. I'm a huge horror fanatic myself. I that's my favorite genre of movies ever.
Right on.
Because before I was just watching what's that? You probably saw this movie too. I just watched it not long ago. It was House by the Cemetery.
Oh yeah, it's classic. Lucio Fulci.
Yeah, I loved it actually. I was the ending, like I said, was unexpected. I had no idea that was gonna happen. So that's what really got me. Wow, that was a good movie.
Yeah, you never know what's gonna happen to Lucio Fulci movie. He just goes it. Wherever he wants to go, he goes. So it doesn't matter if it works or not.
Yeah, it really blew me away. I was happy to actually see that. I knew that one of Mortician's albums was called House by the Cemetery, and I looked it up, and actually I didn't even know it was a movie until I actually found out about it.
An old Dr. Freudstein.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. What I was gonna say was also what is your favorite horror movie franchise? Which one do you really?
My favorite horror movie is Phantasm. Familiar with it?
I heard the name, but I never really watched it.
Yeah, if you like him when you're Mortician, he's got that tall man picture on one of those Mortician 7 inches Go watch Phantasm. It's weird. I've got friends that either love it or hate it. I love it. It's a story about. It's a lot deeper than people really take. I don't want to tell you until you see it for yourself. But it's a story about a kid, and it's him and his brother, and his parents have died, and they have a friend who's an ice cream man, and this guy comes to town. He's a tall man, and he runs the local mortuary, and he basically he's like the boogeyman. That's all I'll say. But it's a spooky movie. It's got a great theme to it. It's so cool. And, watch it. It's called Phantasm. The first one. You want to see the original 1978 one.
Oh, I definitely will. I love the way that you just described, like, that little bit of the synopsis. It actually sounds really good to me so far.
Oh, it's freaky, man. But there's some odd stuff that happens in it that's either... I look at the movie as a nightmare film, and I'm sure you've had nightmares before. Anything can happen. It doesn't have to be, like, realistic. And that's kind of parts of the movie where it's just, like, far-fetched, but anything goes kind of thing. And, yeah, I think you'll dig it, man. I'm going to listen to your slam, and you got to promise me you'll watch Phantasm.
Oh, I'll watch Phantasm. I'm excited now just watching it.
There you go.
Because I also like I actually watched this movie. I think I would say like back in 2019. Actually, I just watched it like back then during that year, and I'm in love with with this one film, and I thought it was fantastic. I don't know what you think about it, but I think you might have seen the movie, or maybe you didn't see the movie. But have you ever seen the movie Dead Alive?
I haven't seen Dead Alive. I like it. I don't love it. It's a little goofy to me. It's not really a full-on horror. It's definitely crazy, and it's definitely intense, and it's fun for what it is. I got a few friends that are really into it. I do like it though. Yeah, absolutely.
Like I actually just loved it because I'm like I love the whole zombie aesthetic and the all that blood and gore and stuff just really gets to me.
Monkey.
Like is there any like horror franchises that you don't really care for that much or not at all?
The bigger franchises, Halloween lost me pretty early on. I do like the third one. I actually like Halloween 3 better than I like the first Halloween. I just like that story. Friday 13th, I like, that was the formulated series. It's pretty cool. I remember seeing the first one in the theater when I was 12, man. My sister pissed her pants. She was so scared. She was 9. She peed her pants. Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, and maybe the one later on where they brought him back, and the way they kind of describe it as an entity more so than a real Freddy Krueger kind of thing. I don't think, I'm trying to think of, I'm not a big, Hellraiser's okay, I guess. I've never been a big Hellraiser. I'm just trying to think of ones that have like 5, 6 movies. Nothing stinks. I'm not big on Alien. That series too much. I'm not a big Aliens guy.
Yeah, I was never really into that either.
Yeah, it's not really a full-on horror. People think the first one's really scary. I never found the first one that scary. It's decent. I like it. I saw it at the midnight movie when it came out, but it doesn't blow me away like it does a lot of people. My favorite horror movies are Phantasm. I love The Exorcist. I always love The Exorcist. I love a couple lesser-known 70s ones called Burnt Offerings from 1976. I love Let's Scare Jessica to Death from, I think that was 73. But I think it was made in 71. I love 70s horror movies. They're some of my favorites. Those are some of my favorites. Newer ones I like. I really like Hereditary. It came out a few years ago. I thought that was excellent.
Oh,
I saw that one, but I liked Hereditary. I actually like the new Wrong Turn. They just did a new Wrong Turn. And I thought that was pretty neat how they kind of flipped the storyline on that.
Oh yeah, no. Speaking of Hereditary, actually, I saw that movie like twice. Actually, and like I said, that was actually, to be honest, that really also a little bit freaked me out. It was pretty crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, the ending, man, when that lady was up on the fucking roof trying to saw her head off, that was crazy with the wire. Remember that?
Oh yes.
That was spooky shit. I like that. Some people hate it. I like it. I wasn't so much sold on his Midsummer movie that came the next year. I like it, but I think it's almost too weird for its own good. You know what I'm talking about, Midsummer?
Midsummer, to be honest, now that's actually the first time I'm hearing about this.
That was about these kids that went overseas to Sweden, and they kind of got looped into these cult people. It's the same guy that made Hereditary. That's why I bring it up. had some pretty intense moments like Hereditary, but it had a lot of shit where I'm like, this is this is more like an acid trip to me, man. LSD movie.
That sounds really. It sounds like a really crazy film.
It is pretty crazy, but yeah, if you get a chance, watch it once. It's about three. I think it's almost 3 hours long. It's pretty fucking long.
That is pretty long, actually. Like, one of my favorite, actually, but I have two favorite horror movie franchises, which is, it's actually like these horror franchises, like these are like the best. Like to me, these have a lot of like, a lot of good. I had a lot of great experiences with these two horror franchises, and there's like a lot of stories behind it for me. But I really love the Saw and Texas Chainsaw franchise.
Now, okay, for me, I love Saw. The first Saw I loved, and I think was part two the part where they like threw the girl in with all the needles.
Oh yeah, that one, yes, from Saw Two.
I
I
like
remember
that
that.
one. Then I saw a couple more at the drive-in, and I was like, yeah, they were okay, but I was like, now they're just reaching to me. Texas Chainsaw, the first one, the original, one of the best movies ever made. Love it. Um, didn't care too much. I did not like part two at all. I hated it. Saw it in the theater when it came out. Hated it. Leatherface, the movie, it's okay. And then when they bought the stuff in the 90s and so on, 2000s, the beginning, it was called Texas Chainsaw in the beginning. I like that one. You remember that one?
Oh yes, I definitely do.
And the Texas Chainsaw remake, where they try to go back to the first one with Jessica, what's her name? Is that her name? Jessica something, the one that's married to, what's her fucking name? You know what I'm talking about, probably. But anyway, that one I didn't like so much. And then, like, the newer ones, they did one in 3D a couple years ago. That was okay. The Texas Chainsaw, whatever it was called, Texas Chainsaw.
It was just called Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Yeah, that was okay. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. They're there. They're not terrible. Like the later fucking Michael Myers movies were terrible. To me, they're terrible. Like I saw the last one in the drive-in like 2 years ago, and it was terrible. And I went home and I wrote it on my Facebook. It was the worst movie I saw all year. And people were like, "Dude, I thought it was pretty good." And I'm like, "That's terrible." So it's all opinions, but yeah, the Texas Chainsaw stuff is I give on an average about a 5. Saw is about probably a 3.5 for me. Moving forward from the original, I really love the original. When at the end of that first one, when that guy stood up on the floor, the whole movie was dead, and he wasn't. That was great. That was nobody saw that coming. I don't care who people say, "Oh, I saw that coming a mile away." No, you didn't.
No, when I first saw that movie, I was not expecting that at all.
It was good. That was a good ending to that. I like that one. Bad acting in it, but good movie.
Oh yeah, like I said before, like the reason why the Saw and Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies have so much for me is because, well, I'm actually like when it comes to Saw, I'm actually friends with a lot of people who actually like were in the movies,
Oh yeah.
and actually I own a lot of the props that were used in those films.
Oh, that's cool.
And I also knew like the guy who like was in charge of like selling all the props to, and like I went to a lot of like events for the Saw movie franchise, so that really stuck to me pretty well, and I really like keep it as like a very strong part of my horror movie horror movie feel.
That's cool. That's real cool.
And same thing for Texas Chainsaw, because actually the 3D one that came out back then, actually I'm actually pretty good friends with the guy who played Leatherface in that movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I like that. He was pretty good at it. I like that. I like the carnival scene.
Oh yeah, that's actually a very that was a scene I was actually really liked like a lot, because to be honest with you, let me tell you this. I don't think you ever knew this actually, but the guy who sold like all the props for Saw, he's actually in that movie, in that scene for like a few seconds if you look closely.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, like that's something I didn't even know until like later on I found out about that. And not just also that, actually, I also met the original Leatherface. Like I met Gunnar Henson, who also played the original Leatherface as well.
Sure.
So but the thing is like about that really that made it like that a very memorable experience is that actually it's a very sad also experience as well too, because it's like a happy and sad thing, because the happy thing is that I was able to meet him, and he was such a nice guy to me, and all that. and me and him talked about like a lot of things for a while, and then the sad thing was I found out later that he passed away, and I was so sad about that after the 1 year I met him.
I met Gunnar Hansen years ago at one of the early horror conventions, really early on. Um, I would say 1990. I met him, and he signed some stuff for me. I met him, and I met the guy that played R2D2 and the guy that played C3PO same day. In fact, I mean, I'm sure you've been to chiller conventions or some of that shit before.
Oh yeah, I've been to like did horror conventions I've been to was Monster Mania and Chiller Theater.
Yeah, like the ones they do now. Like I went to the ones before all this. Before you had to like pay to get people to sign your shit. Now it's like $30 a minimal to get somebody to sign. Back then, you just bought a picture for $5 and he signed it. You know, it was cool. That's when I met him. I met him so long ago. It was definitely 30 years ago. I met him. I met Linda Blair from The Exorcist. I met her when my son was just like 3 years old. That was like 92. We went to a Halloween thing and I met her. I met a lot of them people at those things. They're nice people. I mean, most of them are nice. It's just the money. It's just insane. You know how quickly it'll suck you dry, man. Me and my wife went to one 2 summers ago and it was like $300, and all we got for $300 was like 10 signatures or 8 signatures or something. I'm like, God, this is like a half of a fucking rent paycheck, you know?
Oh yeah, cause like I definitely know what you mean by that. Cause like when I went to Monster Mania back, I think I would say like in 2000, I think yeah it was 2000. I think 50, yeah it was 2015 for like the whole Saw event that they had there. Like I was like bone dry after the end of the day after that.
Oh, yeah. That's how we were. We were like, we're not going to eat. We have to drive all the way home and eat when we get home because we're out of money.
Yeah,
It
like
happens. It's fun, though. I mean, it's something to do, man.
oh yeah, like horror conventions today are a lot different than they probably were back then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I met George Romero. There was no line for George Romero in 1990 when I met him. It was just walk up, say hi, and move on. Now, you know, I know he's passed away now, but a few years ago, there'd be a line, 5 hour wait, you know?
Oh yeah, like for like when I was at actually this was last year actually too. I also went for the Texas Chainsaw event in 2014 actually, and like I said, I was also bone dry as well, and I didn't have any money after that. I could say one thing: the line for Robert Englund, who does Freddy Krueger,
Yeah.
it was the most popular line in the entire con.
Oh, yeah. He's a loved man. Made a lot of money on those shows.
Oh yeah, like real. I was surprised. I was like, oh my god, a lot of people are here just for this guy.
Absolutely. For sure.
Like, but still today, like I said, I'm still a very big horror fan. Like anything for like, I'm just really into a lot of the old classic type films because I feel like that's like when horror was at its absolute best because it is so much stuff that was like more of like a really exciting like shock value that it was back then to what like people are seeing like today.
Absolutely. I mean, anything goes today. They pushed it so far. Nothing's taboo. You know, the movies that come out. I mean, Soul had a lot to do with that. You know, like the just over the topness of those movies. You know.
Oh yeah, exactly. There hasn't been, I don't think there really has been that many like gory horror films that much today as was back then.
Yeah, exactly. It's more mental now. It's more like you know, mind manipulation kind of shit.
Yeah, and then a lot of paranormal activity stuff as well.
Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, that was popular. Cheap and easy to pull off that formula.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Actually, that is definitely true. Let me think what else. Actually, I think I'm gonna end off the interview right here.
Okay, dude, it was great, dude. I love talking with you, man. You're a smart kid, dude. You fucking you know your shit. And what are you gonna put this in? What's it gonna be on?
It's gonna be on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, dude, dude, send me a link. I'll put it up on my page. You know, you're in there now. I got you on the friends, and you know, you can meet a lot of cool people on my page and stuff. A lot of nice people in there, man. And you know, and like I said, I'll you send me the slam, and you watch Phantasm, and I'll let you know what I think of that. We'll go from there.
Oh, of course. Like, thank you. Like I said before, like I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you so much.
It was fun, dude. It absolutely was, dude. You take care of yourself, and let's keep touch.
Oh, of course, I will definitely keep in touch with you. I'll keep on like telling you like if I have any more things that I want to show you.
There you go. Well, take care, man. Have a nice Easter, man, and all the best to you. Stay safe.
Oh, of course, thank you very much. Like, and like yet again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Cheers.
All right, see ya.